Welcome to Keep What You Earn, your judgment and jargon-free zone for entrepreneurs of all levels. Get ready to learn how to scale your business, save money in taxes, and create a business that grows your wealth. If it feels like the financial side of business is like eating your vegetables, well then think of this podcast as the ranch dressing to make the process a little more enjoyable. My name is Shannon Weinstein. I'm a CPA and business owner on a mission to simplify money and empower others through knowledge. I hope this episode inspires you to take action, but remember that the information we share is for educational purposes only and is not individual tax advice. Now that we got that out of the way, let's start the show. So I recently recorded an episode for the Earn and Invest podcast with Doc G, and we were talking. Jordan and I were talking about how I left my job, telling a bit of my story, and it got me reflecting on a really big lesson that I learned in leaving my corporate job that I want to share with you. If you're debating leaving a corporate job, if you are on the verge of it, if you really kind of feel like you've had it and you're ready to jump ship, but you're scared, then this is 100% for you. Even if you've left a corporate job and you're questioning that decision constantly and wondering if you're cut out for this, this is for you. So what I've realized in leaving my corporate job and leaving these kind of more safe and secure environments of 9-to-5s is a really big revelation that when you're in it, when you're in the job, you're feeling like, oh my God, if I quit, it's like jumping into the deep end without swimmies. It's like jumping into the ocean and you're like, I have no idea what I'm getting myself into. I would much rather stay in my luxury resort pool where I can see the ground. I can walk around. I know what to expect. I know how deep it is. I'm good. Right? But you're longing for this adventure. You're longing for what's beyond that. You're longing to get out of the boundaries and experience something more because it's not fulfilling anymore. It's not exciting. It's not fun. Well, that can hold you back from making a decision that can change your life. And there are two really big concepts I want you to grapple with. One is, what could actually go wrong? What could actually go wrong? If you make this decision to leave your job, try something off on your own for a while and evaluate if it's working, how much more would you regret not doing that? If you get down to, 3, 5, 10 years later, and you're still in the same job and you're like, I never tried. The reward, the gratification of trying is typically everything. Just to know you tried and you didn't like it and you've decided it wasn't for you anymore is a victory. Because I would much rather try and realize why I don't want to pursue it than to not pursue it and regret not trying any day of the week. So there's really no risk in you trying, especially if you're in a high level position. And this is kind of who I'm talking to. If you're in a high level position, you feel like you've dug yourself in and you're in this position. You've been there for 5, 10, 15 years, 20 years. And you're like, I've committed. I am too far into what I'm doing now to be able to leave. I'm too heavily relied on at my job. I make too much money to be able to jump ship and make the same amount of money to support my lifestyle. There's going to be so many excuses as to why you can't do it. But I'm going to tell you a couple of things. Number one is that when you are actually ready to jump ship, what you'll realize is that the drop off when you jump is a lot smaller than you think it is. It's a lot smaller than you think it is. You have this visual of like, if I jump off the cliff, I can't go back. I have to climb back up again. Here's the thing. When you picture that cliff you're jumping off of and thinking, if I don't like it, I have to climb back up. Or once I jump, I have to climb back up. This is not correct. And I'm going to explain why. Because what you don't realize is that when you leave a corporate job at a high level position, you are carrying with you a set of skills, mindset, talents, managerial ability, communication ability, presence, confidence that you didn't have on the first floor of your career. You are carrying with you skills, weapons, items, provisions on this journey that you didn't have before. I compare this to a video game. You know when you're playing a video game and you go up against this like big boss, and let's say you're at level 12. And then for whatever reason in this proverbial video game, you decide you're going to go back to level 1. This happens a lot. My husband plays this game, Fallout. You probably know it, where he beat the game. He's basically at the top level he can perform at in the game as his character. However, to continue playing the game, you have to go back to level 1 and build using the skills that you have that you've acquired in the main part of the game. So what I realized when I left my corporate job is that I'm going back to, you would say, level 1 in terms of how many resources I have. You know, I don't have a team. I don't have the technology. I don't have an office building. I don't have all these things, right? I'm starting over in a sense. But I have all of the things from level 12 of the game to tear through the first few levels of this new game rapidly. It is not the same. It is not the same as starting from scratch. You are not starting from 0. You are starting at level 1 with level 12 skills. And you are going to crush it. And there's all of this narrative about how difficult entrepreneurship is, how difficult it is to start. But if you have spent your career developing the skills, developing technical skills, communication skills, managerial skills that have served you, you are going to excel greatly at what it is you do outside of that job. Especially if you're choosing to start a business of your own that aligns with the career that you've chosen. And even if it doesn't, even if you're not leaving your law firm to go start your own law practice, even if you're not really doing the exact same thing you've been doing, I think we all underestimate how valuable it is that we have the experience that we do, what we've actually acquired in terms of skills along the way. I would encourage you, if you're debating this and you're really hesitant about leaving your job, to go back through your resume, because Lord knows you're probably updating it if you're that miserable at your job. Go through your resume, go through your LinkedIn, go through whatever it is. Reflect on your career, reflect on each year of your experience. If you've been at the same company for 10, 15, 20 years, go through each position you've held. And make a list of the souvenirs you've taken. Make a list of the skills you acquired. Think back to your first year as a manager when you had to deal with a difficult employee, or the first tough conversation you had to have, or when, when the deadlines weren't met, when something bad happened with a customer, and go back to what did that teach me and what did I walk away with from that experience? Stack those. I challenge you, make a list of them. Make a list of what you've acquired as souvenirs in this journey that you have in a backpack with you. And just think to yourself, what else could be enough? What more could I possibly need that is considered enough to make me, quote unquote, ready to leave? What more can I shove in this backpack? And if there truly is more and you feel like you have unfinished business, then that's fine. But I'm telling you that you're never going to feel ready to leave the job, really. There's no such thing as ready, because there's always something more you could be doing, something more you can acquire, something more you can achieve. There always is. Life is designed that way. There is no summit. You're always climbing. The choice is yours if the climb is still worth it, or if you've acquired enough to be able to let go, make the jump, and climb your own mountain yourself. And I did not have this mentality initially. I was scared to quit my job. I had to make sure I had the cash flow. I had to make sure everything was perfect. I wanted to make sure I was fully ready. And I ended up quitting 6 months earlier than I thought I would. Quite frankly, out of necessity. I was burning out. I couldn't do two things at once. My side hustle was growing bigger than my day job in the form of time spent. And I said, I can't do this anymore. Ideally, I would have waited a little bit longer to feel like I had a safer jump, but I'm glad I didn't. Because we tend to spend so much time building the damn parachute while we're standing on the top of the summit of the cliff. We're spending so much time building the parachute that will get us down that we don't bother to look at how far it is and really assess. Because you're spending so much time building a damn parachute to jump 10 feet. Because if you do this thoughtfully, it should be a 10-foot, 6-foot jump. You should be able to hop down from that cliff because you have so much that's going to help you lessen that gap between what you're doing now and what you can do and your potential when you leave. Shrink that gap. And mostly what that is made up of, what that second hill you're walking to is made up of, is confidence. Walking around knowing that you have all of this stuff that you've acquired that's going to help build that second hill for you to jump onto. Don't be afraid to make the jump because it's much lower than you think. It really is. It's so important to evaluate really where you stand instead of how much farther you have to go. Stop looking at it with the binoculars in the wrong direction. It's much closer than it appears. You can absolutely do it. And there's nothing to fear by taking the risk, knowing that there really isn't a risk because you walk back, not hitting a reset button, but you still have all the same skills and you can easily find another job if you needed to that respect those skills. So don't worry about the worst case scenario. Think about what's the best case scenario. What would it mean if I actually jumped now? What could I do right now to make my success more likely? And focus on that. So just remember, it's not as far as you think. You can absolutely do this. Finding the right support that you need for your business can be so confusing when it comes to accounting and tax. Sometimes it seems like you can't find a CPA or a tax pro who actually understands your business, or they charge way too much for what you actually need. I've seen this for so many entrepreneurs. They're in a bad relationship with their accountant because they don't know what to look for. It is not your fault. So I created a perfect guide for you that is totally free. It's called the Money Pro Matchmaker, and it will teach you what your pro should be doing, questions you can use to interview them to find the right person for you, and a guide to evaluate them so you know you're getting what you pay for. Do not get stuck or screwed with the wrong accountant. Download the guide now at moneypromatchmaker.com. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating and review on your podcast platform. This small action goes a long way for podcasters to get our message heard by more business owners just like you. Be sure to check out the show notes for links to information about our guests and ways to get in touch with me. We'll see you on the next episode.